So we decided to do the University of Louisville basketball team. Some history behind this is that the university was founded April 3rd of 1798, and then in 1911, the basketball team was founded. In 2013, they were in the basketball championship but ended up not being able to play because of sex scandals and NCAA violations. The NCAA then launched an investigation into the university and everything that was going on with the basketball team. And then between 2018 and 2022, there have been 3 more violations, and this was all done under the head coach of Chris Mack.
Coach Pitino was the Louisville men's basketball head coach from 2001 to 2017. During his time at the university, he had been involved in multiple scandals and NCAA violations. Pitino had worked out a deal with Adidas that would pay Brian Bowen $100,000 to sign a contract to play at the university. He had later been involved in the process of getting strippers and prostitutes for recruits and players. This scandal resulted in the university having their 2013 national championship vacated. The NCAA launched an investigation on the university, which led to U of L parting ways with Pitino in 2017. Following the split from Coach Pitino, the university signed Chris Mack as the new men's basketball head coach. Chris Mack coached the Cardinals from 2018 to 2022. Coach Mack was fired by the university in 2022 when multiple allegations against him came out. During his time, he allowed other staffing to participate in impermissible on-court activities with their current players. They also took time to use personalized recruiting tactics, which included videos and merch that has likeness or personal information attached. The university found that Coach Mack knew about these things and failed to promote compliance with NCAA guidelines and parted ways with Chris Mack. The first failure was how the university did not implement any way of monitoring if the coaching staff was following guidelines and keeping a solid organization that had integrity. The university failed to discipline the ones that were involved in a way that would deter others from doing similar things in the future. They also did not take accountability for what was going on in either situation with either coaches. After the investigation involving Pitino launched, they had extra attention on them and had no room for mistakes. Instead of taking this as an opportunity to grow, they failed to capitalize on that, which then led to more violations that were caught very easily and put them right back in the spotlight for basketball violations. Next, we are going to touch on some of the organizational behavior theories that are present in this case. For OB Theory 1, we see a lack of the implicit leadership theory. This theory is based on the idea that individuals have cognitive perceptions of the world and use these preconceived notions to interpret their surroundings and control their behaviors. These perceptions come from the follower and are casted upon the leader. So in this situation, the preconceived notions would be from the players casted onto the coaches. In this case, Rick Pitino and Chris Mack lacked effective leadership. Mack and Pitino having effective leadership traits was expected from the University of Louisville and the team, since they were put into a position of power and their obligation was to lead this team. Some of the important qualities that they should have upheld consist of being trustworthy, just, and honest. On this slide, we also see the results from our voting in class on some of the traits that effective leaders should have, such as confidence, communication, respect, being charismatic, encouraging, etc. For the next organizational behavior theory, we are going to talk about a concept of influence principles, which more specifically in this case, we will discuss authority. In society today, we are taught to value and uphold respect for authoritative figures, such as our parents, teachers, coaches, etc. Since Mack and Pitino had a leadership position, we can see the issue of power influence arise. This is defined as one having the ability to make someone do what they would otherwise not do. In this case, we can talk about the impermissible activities with the current players and potential recruits for the University of Louisville. Researchers have questioned this issue of power and authority by asking, how difficult is it for people to obey someone in an authority role when they commanded them to commit an atrocity? In other words, when someone is demanded to do some action, how likely are they to go along with it? In this situation, how likely would the team or the University of Louisville as a whole be to go against what their superiors, aka Chris Mack and Rick Pitino, are telling them to do, in a tricky situation.
I'm going to talk about the response and part of the response evaluation. So after the initial problem, Tom Jurich, the athletic director, Rick Pitino, and other basketball staff were all placed on paid leave. This paid leave was supposed to be around 5 games, but they didn't actually end up serving their suspension because they were fired from the University of Louisville before it could go into effect. They then hired Chris Mack to replace Rick Pitino's position and hopefully solve the problem by just completely removing it. After Chris Mack's problems, the University of Louisville suspended him for 20 days, which is around 6 games, which is about a game longer than the suspension that Rick Pitino was supposed to have. They then fired him and eventually fired the majority of his staff as well because there were still employees from the initial failure with Rick Pitino, so they wanted to try to kind of clear out the rest of the staff to see if that helped. Initially, their response was not very effective because it happened a couple of years later with a new coach and some new staff. So then after the problem with Chris Mack, the University of Louisville imposed a harsher response by firing everyone that was or could have been involved, rather than only the people that were known to have made mistakes and could actually be proven. In doing this, they made a statement to future employees that they will not tolerate illegal or unethical actions and that they will be dealt with immediately with termination. Although they made a bigger statement this time and were effective in removing the problem, there were also problems that arise because of this response.
Was low team cohesion, quick job turnover, and low job satisfaction. Now, when we talk about low team cohesion, that's when we speak on the fact of task, perceived unity, emotions, and social, right? That's the social would be the interaction between you and your teammates or you and another team member. And then when you talk about task, that's the want to get the task done. And when you speak about emotion, it's about how you relate yourself to your other teammates, and how do you have relationships with them, and are they good or are they bad? And the perceived unity is the aspect of, okay, is the assumption there that we're supposed to work together and be one as a team. And these were all things that the University of Louisville did not have high levels of during this time in 2015 to 2016. Now, when you speak about quick job turnover, that's just the aspect of firing all their members of the UK basketball team staff and also the 2 coaches as well, right? That resulted in a large number of fires during that year. And then with low job satisfaction, that speaks on the aspect of the team players. I mean, if you were to imagine yourself as a teammate on this team during this time, your coaches are fired, there's nobody there behind you, everyone's admitting guilt to stuff that happened, and do you want to play? Would that make you want to play? It wouldn't make me want to play. So the low job satisfaction is they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to practice, they didn't want to play games, and they didn't want to continue the season. Moving on, with the third failure in response to it, the University of Louisville decided to do a self-imposed ban. Right, this was in the season of 2015, 2016. Rick Pitino was still a part of the team. They decided to go with this before the tournament started. This was at the end of the season. It was a post-season ban, basically. And this message was delivered by the University of Kentucky's Louisville president, and that is James R. Ramsey. James R. Ramsey was accompanied by Rick Pitino. I believe that the University of Louisville decided to do this to kind of show that Rick Pitino was there and kind of give that strong word aspect of, we have our coach here with us and we believe this is what we want to do. And they wanted that community aspect to kind of get behind them and go for them and push for them through this hard time. With that being said, I don't think that this was the right decision that the University of Louisville should have gone with. And the self-imposed ban on the aspect of kind of admitting guilt to accepting what happened, I believe that they did that, and that wasn't the correct way to go about it.
This was an ineffective response by the university because it was an unstructured apology that really didn't touch on any of the accusations from the NCAA and really was just an attempt to get them out of the spotlight. By imposing their ban of we're not going to play in March Madness and we're not going to play in our conference tournament, the ACC tournament, I guess that Louisville was demonstrating that they were taking this situation seriously, but they made, these decisions before the NCAA had finished their investigation with the school. So in my eyes, it looked like they were just doing this so that the NCAA would look at Louisville and their situation and say, they're already not playing in these tournaments. Maybe that's punishment enough, and we'll just kind of overlook the whole situation and call it there. But really, I think that this created a lot of turmoil in the locker room. It definitely brought down the team cohesiveness because the NCAA tournament and the conference tournaments are at the end of the year, and it's really where a lot of the young players and all the players actually get to showcase their skills and abilities to a lot of these NBA scouts, and really improve their draft stock because players in their last year of college eligibility, the March Madness tournament is the last time you'll ever play college, and without getting to play, you really cut these players' seasons and possibly basketball careers short on an unfair ruling because the university was doing something it wasn't supposed to. So ultimately, I feel bad for these players, and it's not fair that players at other schools who might not have played as well got the opportunity at least to play in the tournament and showcase their skills and further their basketball careers when these Louisville players just didn't get that same chance. So overall, I think the response by Louisville can be seen as harsh, but I do think that it was insincere in its true meaning.
With Louisville basketball, there's many things that they need to do better going into the future. The first being holding their program to a higher standard. They have been known to be a top Power 5 program, but in recent years with the Rick Pitino allegations and scandals, and then the Chris Mack allegations, there's just a lot of things that have been going wrong, and they're not holding themselves to the standard of being a top 5 program. And that has led to recruits dropping out, our coaches being fired, just a lot of turnover in the program. They need to operate within the limits of NCAA rules when it comes to recruiting. Right after Rick Pitino was fired, Chris Mack was hired to kind of take the pressure off and take those the stigma of us being a bad program away, and then he himself committed NCAA violations when it came to recruiting, and it kind of continued on the allegations that Louisville already had of breaking rules when recruiting when it came to Rick Pitino, because his staff had broken the rules with recruits and everything else. So they need to operate within the limits in the future to get recruits. There's no need to be breaking rules, especially when you're already under the microscope of the NCAA. They're watching like a hawk. They know that Louisville is known for breaking rules, so they need to operate within the limits. And lastly, they need to regain their reputation of being a top 5 program. 2013 the championship was vacated, but even without the vacation, they still went all the way. From the entire Rick Pitino era, they were known as being one of the best top Power 5 basketball programs. Recruits from all over the country wanted to go to Louisville to play basketball, and that has changed. Now that all of these things have come to light, not many recruits want to come to Louisville. They don't want to be the face of a program, a losing program this year, and a program that is just known for breaking rules.